you should get used to this. With GitHub, how you get your GitHub codes to Maven is you do a git clone, right? You do a git clone here, and we'll move from git clone then to Tomcat. Tomcat, how do you manually deploy your application? You simply copy your artifacts from the target directory on Maven, copy it to Tomcat, right? So before you copy it, this machine has to be able to talk to this machine because they are in the same private network, right? Then you can use your private IP address to communicate between here and here, right? Between Maven and Tomcat servers, right? But because this is your local machine, right? This is your local machine. It's not in the same network with all the servers. So for you to be able to access this server, right? Remember, you have to SSH into it and you use a public key. Now, when we will be accessing, Maven will be accessing Tomcat because they're in the same network, we'll be using a private key, right? So in AWS, you have a public key and a private key. So you can use yes, you can use either the private, not a private key. I mean to say IP address, private IP address and public IP address. For you to, because this is the same network, right? You use private IP address, not public, private IP address. Here you use public IP address when you're getting from your laptop to your GitHub. Okay, we're going to explain that in a minute. We'll see how to do that. And this is Maven architecture, what I did not show you guys, right? I mentioned we have a local repository and a remote repository, right? When Maven looks for a dependency or a plugin, it will first look in your local repository, right? If it doesn't find it in the local repository, it will get to your remote repository. Remote repository could be one remote repository within or central repository. Whenever it doesn't see it in the remote repository, we'll go to central repository and fetch it in the cloud. And this is just a simple architecture of Maven. You have, this is the build system. You have your project XML, in this case will be pump XML, right? Then you have the Maven command. And once you create a build, then you can install it on your site, right? This is a small architecture of Maven. And we have the Maven lifecycle. I think we talked about it yesterday, right? We have the clean lifecycle, default lifecycle, and site lifecycle, right? In the clean lifecycle is just to clean up or delete or patch any build that you had in your system. So it's going to do MVN clean, it's going to clean it up and prepare it for the next thing you need to do. On the default lifecycle, you can validate, initiate, generate sources, process the sources, generate other sources and process the sources. Then it compiles, right? It does the compilation, right? And after compilation, it does the packaging, right? And you can install it and you can deploy the application, right? So this is Maven lifecycle. On the site, right? On the site actually does when you do the deployment or installation, it install it. It could be a standalone application where you can deploy it, or you can install it on your local repository or your local machine. Okay, so 3 lifecycle: clean, default, and site. Okay, is there anything I needed to show you guys? So these are the phases, right? Compile, right? It does a pre-test, the test compiler, do the test, do the packaging, right? So you can, if you run MVN package, it's going to go ahead and do the compilation. We're going to do validation, we're going to do the test, and then package your application. So those are the phases, right? We've talked about the features of Maven already. Okay, so those are the 3 things I needed to show you before we move to Tomcat. Any question? Okay. Okay, let's do a little review in Tomcat. Then we'll go in and build a web application, Maven web application. Then we publish it in Tomcat. So this is Tomcat. What is Apache Tomcat, right? These are the topics we're going to cover. Features and benefit of Apache Tomcat, architecture of Tomcat, installing and configuring Tomcat. Then we'll do the deployment. And we look at how to manage Tomcat servers. And we take a stab at if there's we have anything that we need to debug or troubleshoot, how do we do that? Okay. So last year, the last class, we did not have in-depth study of Tomcat. I thought it's important that we study it rather than just doing the deployment. The deployment part is okay, but I think we should give it a little bit in-depth so we can study this some more. So I put together this study material, right? So let's look at the introduction of Tomcat. I said Apache Tomcat, generally, Apache Tomcat handles clients' requests. It processes server-side codes. It manages the session, right? It ensures that there's security. It optimizes performance, and it also provides infrastructure for deployment and manage the application. So it does more than just deploying an application. There's a whole lot of things that goes behind it. That's the main reason I said, okay, let's dig deep into what Tomcat does so you can really understand Tomcat. Tomcat is an application server, right? It's an application server. So you use Tomcat to deploy your application. It does, it manages every session, right? It ensures security, optimized performance, and it does the deployment and manage a web application. So it does a whole lot, right? So let's dig a little bit into it. Again, I said, what's Apache Tomcat? Apache Tomcat is also known as Tomcat Server. It's an open source web server and Servlet Container developed by Apache Software Foundation. I think I put a definition of Servlet Container so we can understand what it is. It is designed to serve as a Java-based environment for running Java Servlet, Java Server Pages, and Java Server Faces application, right? So every application that you develop using Java, right, the deployment, you use Tomcat to do the deployment because of its versatility. It does a whole lot of things, right? We'll dig deep into it a little bit. So these are the key features of Tomcat Server. It's a servlet container. It can create a Java server page, right? It supports that Java server pages. It has web server functionalities, so you can use it as a web server, right? It also has cross-platform compatibility. So you can, from one platform to the other, it has that compatibility. So it's very versatile. It has scalability and high performance. You can scale it, right? And it performs at very high degree of performance. On top of that, it has security. You can set security into it. You can configure security into it that checks things like vulnerability or any malicious attack. Okay, so that's Tomcat. So what's Servlet, right? In the definition, we talk about it's a Servlet container, right? So the question is, what's a Servlet? I need to define this so you guys can understand. A Servlet container is also known as a web container. So when you have a web application, when you have your server, web server, right? There is an engine that is running it. That engine is what is mostly a servlet container, right? So it's also known as web container or servlet engine. What really powers your website to go on, right? There's a code behind your web server that makes your web server perform the way it performs, right? So if you are accessing any web application, if you have any web application, you don't know what's going on under the hood, right? The servlet engine is what is powering it to go on. And Servlet is major part of Tomcat. So it's a component of web server or application server that manages the execution and deployment of the Java Servlet or Java Server Pages. So all the applications you're running, it's a Java page application, all the ones that you're creating using Java. And this Servlet is the engine that actually powers it, right? So that's the power of a web engine or a web server like Tomcat. It also provides an environment for running web applications and follow the Java Servlet specifically. The primary role of a Servlet container is to receive requests. So you send a request like www.yahoo.com. That's a request that you're sending, and you're the client, right? And you're doing this on a browser, and sends responses back. So you're sending this request to the Servlet. It picks your request. It's like a communication channel. You receive your request, get the request to your target, processes the request, and send back the information to you. So it acts as a mediator between the web server and the Servlet, handling the lifecycle of this component, right? So it's a mediator that goes in between. That's a Servlet container. That's what it does. Okay, this is some of the benefit of Apache Tomcat. It's a web server. Most of those are extracted from what we've seen already. It's a web server, and it also is a Servlet container. It has security features. When we talk about security features, are those things that most people, most website wants to be attacked, right? Malicious attack. So this has more or less something like a firewall that fends off the attackers, or what's called man in the middle of attack, right? Those attacks, malicious attack that can harm your web application. So the advantage or benefit of a Tomcat server means it has a security feature as well. It acts as a web application deployment tool, so you can deploy your application using Tomcat. It's lightweight and easy to configure. It has cross-platform compatibility. We talked about this already. You can scale. It has very high performance. It's secured and is very robust. It has a robust architecture. It has ability that you can monitor and manage what is going on inside it, and is an open source, and is very cost effective, right? It's open source, meaning that it's free. Anyone can use it, right? You can also get a premium package for Tomcat as well, but in most cases, most people use the open source Tomcat, which means it's mostly free, right? If you're an organization, some organization going to purchase a premium copy of it because it has additional, for example, the security part of it feature you will not probably find it in the open source. Probably have to pay for it, pay extra to be able to use the security features. Okay, and some of the like monitoring and management, you have to pay for this service as well if you need them. But mostly you can do mostly everything with it as an open source software. Other features, additional features that you need, it has a premium price on it. So the architecture of Tomcat, it has what is called Catalina. The first component is the Catalina. Catalina is the Servlet container component, right? We talked about what server container is. It's an engine. So Catalina has the Servlet container components of Apache. It's responsible. Sorry, give me a second, please. I need some water. Is a Servlet container component. It's responsible for handling the Java Servlet and Java Server Pages. So you see one of the components, how do you handle the Servlet itself and the pages, even though you have the engine? So what is called Catalina is what runs it, what does the running around, right, to make sure your Java Servlets and pages are up and running. It provides a runtime environment necessary for the execution of the servlet, and it manages the lifecycle and processes the client request. So Catalina is that one component. So if I ask you in an interview, what are the components of Apache Tomcat? One thing you need to remember, if you don't remember anything else, is Catalina. It sounds like a lady's name, so you shouldn't forget it, Catalina.sh. It's actually the command that you can use to start and stop Tomcat. It's Catalina.sh. So in this case, Catalina is the major component. Connectors. Connectors are responsible for handling communication between the clients, right? So between your client, which is your web server, and the API, which is a Tomcat API, what helps with that communication is called a connector. So they receive incoming requests over HTTP or HTTPS protocol and forward them to the appropriate components for processing. Now, HTTPS and HTTPS, you'll hear this a lot when you're dealing with web applications and web servers. These are the protocols. So when you do, you want to check Amazon.com, right? You have this protocol. These are the protocols that helps you with the communication, sending the request and receiving the request. That's our HTTP. HTTP is not secure. HTTPS with the S here means it's a secure protocol, right? So connectors handle tasks like passing, requests, managing sessions, and generating responses. So another component of a Tomcat server is web container. The web container is responsible for managing the deployment and execution of web application within Tomcat. So when it comes to the deployment, actual deployment and the execution of the application, is the web container, right? This is the web container. So web container is also, we said, is also a servlet, right? It provides an environment for deploying web application, handling the lifecycle and managing the components that comprise the application, such as the Servlet, JSP, and other resources. Okay, so the three components you should know about is Catalina, one, connector, and web container. If they ask you to explain it in an interview, I mean, Catalina is basically the servlet container, right? It handles all the Java servlet. The connector helps with the communication between the client and the API. The web container manages the deployment and execution of the applications within Tomcat. So web connector is the manager. The connector is what helps with the communication, and Catalina is responsible for the web pages to come out and be exactly what you want it to be. Okay, so Catalina, connector, web server, CCW. Okay, this is the architecture. So this is exactly how it works. You have the client is here, right? You have HTTPS or HTTP sending the request, right? And you have the connector. Connector is here in between that forwards the request. And you have the Catalina right here that handles the servlet and the Java script pages. And you have the web container that manages the application. So this is the architecture. This is how it looks like, right? And the explanation is over here, right? You can read up on this to understand how this. But this will give you a picture of how Tomcat server works. It has the client. There's a client here. There's a connector here. Catalina, then web container. Those are the three big components. It forwards a request. Then Catalina handles the servlet and the web container. Web container manages the web application. Okay, let's keep moving forward. So these are examples of web application servers, right? We have IBM WebSphere application. This is from IBM. Then you have Tomcat, right, which is from Apache. Then you have JBoss or Wildfly. This is from Red Hat, right? And you have WebLogic, which is from Oracle. So these are examples of other application servers. IBM has one. Apache is the one that we're studying right now, which is Tomcat. Then you have JBoss and Wildfly, right? These can all publish or deploy application with a Java. They can all deploy Java applications, right? Red Hat and IBM. Then you have Oracle. So these are some examples. It's not just Apache Tomcat. We have other ones, right? Application servers. What is the difference between a JBoss, Wildfly, and Tomcat server, right? First of all, when you talk about the vendors, Tomcat is owned by Apache. Was developed by Apache, is owned by Apache. JBoss is owned by Red Hat. Then the application itself, JBoss is a web application, while an enterprise application, you can publish a web application and an enterprise application using JBoss. With Tomcat, you can only publish a web application. So that's the main difference, right? So with JBoss, if you're trying to publish an enterprise application, with Tomcat, you'll not be able to. So that's why you use JBoss for enterprise application. So JBoss can publish both web application and enterprise application. David, I think you asked me this question, right? David, is David
yes,
here?
I did.
Yeah, this is what you asked, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I put this slide in so I can explain this to you. So web application and enterprise applications can be published using JBoss or Wildfly. So JBoss, when you hear JBoss and Wildfly, JBoss is the open source, right? Wildfly is the paid version of JBoss, right? So if you see Wildfly, or you see something like JBoss Wildfly, it's the paid version of the premium version of JBoss, okay? But the JBoss is an open source application as well. Okay, what we're going to do next is installation of Tomcat. I have installed it already, but I'm going to install it again. So this is where I have a link here. This will take me to my repository, my GitHub repository, and we have the installation steps here, right? So I'm going to, let me copy this link so you can have it. I'll put this link on Terraform so we can all have it. Let me open my Terraform report. You can fork the repository so it becomes yours. Oh, it's the same. Oh, we're here already. I think we already have this package manager. We already have this package manager. The only thing is the Tomcat. So it's the same package manager, but you can check your package manager and go to Tomcat, or you can just click this link that I just published. It's the same Tomcat package manager in GitHub. So we are going to do the installation. So let's take a step at it. All right, let me create another instance because I created one already. Let me do one so we can all see, have it on record, how it's being done in case you want to reference it. So I'll call this Tomcat 2. Let me call this Tomcat 2. I have one running already, and we're going to use Red Hat. And I want to use my class key as key pair. Every other thing I need, I would open up. I need to open up port 8080, right? So we'll go back and read the prerequisites. It says AWS account, create a Red Hat EC2 with a T2 macro, right? Create a security group. There's a security group, which is port 8080 that we need to open, right? then you can attach we can create this, or we can do it afterwards. What we've just done, then install Java Open JDK 1.8 or up. Okay. So we get back here to our instance. Let's see, our instance is running, right? So I would go ahead and open that port 8080 so we don't have to come back to it. So edit here, then add a new role, custom TCP. Port 8080 is what I want to open up on my inbound rules, right? And I want to open it up anywhere. Okay, that is completed. So we have our instance running, which is Tomcat 2. To copy the IP address here, I get to my mobile desktop. Okay, open up my SSH. There's my IP address in there, and we're doing EC2 user, not EC3. EC2 I need my morning tea. Then class key.pem is my key pair. Like this. Okay, so we have a mobile extend ready. We need the instructions for the installation. So I will minimize this so we can use 2 screens. Let's expand this a little bit. Okay, all right. So the first thing that we need to do is to install Java Development Kit, JDK 1.8 and above. So you can start by, creating your host name, calling it Tomcat. Okay, then we cd into OPT directory, because that's the directory that will need the execution binary files to run. Then you do sudo yum install. We want to install Git, and we also want to install the wget. So we get that going. Oh, I didn't even say we have Amy and Mabel here today.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Mabel. Good morning, Amy. Okay, so then after that, we do the installation of the Java, which is this. Yeah. We could have installed the unzip command here as well, so that we didn't need to do this again, but we'll do it. It's another step that we need to run. Okay, so we're going to install Tomcat 9. I know last class we did Tomcat 10, but we're going back to Tomcat 9. We can, if you want to install Tomcat 10, you can go back to the official website for Tomcat, and you can copy that archive, right? You copy something like this, I would say Tomcat 10, and install it. When you're working in your organization, whenever you have to do installation, go to the official website, right? For example, the version always changes, and when version changes, you run into problems. yesterday I was trying to install my Tomcat using the one that we used in previous class, but there was a new version, so I could not even run it, right? So I had to go back to the official website and copy the latest version that they had. Otherwise, it start giving you errors. Some of the versions are deprecated. Once it's deprecated, you cannot run it. So you would not know until you try to run a version that has been deprecated, and it will give you errors, and you're wondering, so what really happens? I thought I ran this before. Okay, so I can just copy this here and run it all at once, but let's do it one by one so we see how it works. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm using a wget command. That's how you download things from the internet. I'm downloading the binary file from the internet. Trying to get this. Okay, so it comes as a tar file, so I have to untie it. Untie means unzip it. Okay, so if I do ls now, right, you see this is the tar file, and this is the file that are untied. In other words, I've unzipped this. So I don't need this file anymore. So I'm going to remove it. So if I do, let me first of all run as root. That way I don't need to use sudo all the time. So if I do rm-rf, right, I can remove this because I don't need it. It's just in there occupying space. Okay. So after I've done that, I want to move this. I want to move this file name or this directory. I want to move it to a new directory called Tomcat9, right? So I used my move command. Copy this, pasted that twice. Okay, that is done. After that is done, I want to give it a privilege of 777, right? Because I don't want to wait and ask for permission. So I'm making this the whole of this directory, right? I'm giving it the highest privilege, right? I'm giving it the permission that it needs. Okay, so that is done. This is a repetition. After that is done, I have to show on create EC2 user because I have to make EC2 user because make EC2 user on this directory. In other words, I'm creating this directory. This directory is being created already, and I want to make EC2 to be one of the owners, right? So I'm making sudo show on EC2. In other words, I'm assigning this to EC2, even though I'm running as root, but that's fine. Then I can start Tomcat. I can sh, right? I can sh and do a startup right here. But then what I truly want to do is to create, it's started right now, it can run, but I want to create a soft link that I can just do start Tomcat instead of running this all the time, right? So I create what's called a soft link. And you see on the soft link, I'm using this application. See this directory right here, right? ln-s is how you create a soft link. And this is the directory you want to create a soft link in. And I want it to be in my bin directory so it can be executable. And I want to call that start Tomcat. And I'm creating a second one, stop Tomcat. So if I want to stop or start Tomcat, I can just say start Tomcat. I can say stop Tomcat. So once I do that, this would either start up the Tomcat or shut down the Tomcat. So let's do that. Okay, and I can simply run a command like start. Sorry. Start Tomcat, right? I can run a command. So my Tomcat is started. It's the same way it started is running. All right, so now we have a Tomcat server running. How do you know that your Tomcat is running? Okay, Tomcat has a UI, the user interface, and you can see what the user interface is. So let's get back to our server right here. Okay, so Tomcat server, this is the IP address, right? So I can click on this and I can open up my browser. So if I do HTTP/, then I paste that. Tomcat runs on what port? What port does Tomcat run on?
Port 8080.
Port 8080. So that's why we open port 8080, right? So we hit that, it should bring up a Tomcat server. So we've installed Tomcat, right? And a Tomcat server is running. So we have a problem though. So if I want to access this Tomcat server, I'm not able to access it. It gives me 403. If I want to access the host, I can't, right? So how do I resolve this issue? How do I resolve this problem? Let's get back to our slides, PowerPoint slide. Let's do a little bit. All right, we were doing the installation. So to access Tomcat, I've showed you how to access Tomcat. You just use the IP address and the port number 8080 to access it. So to access the backend using App Manager, right, we'll have a 403. It will say access denied. So for us to combat this and change it so we can access this, we have to do some configuration, right? The directive here is to configure your context.xml file, which is here. So you go through this link or this directory, you should get to your context.xml file. Once you do that, you need to comment on this, right? Put a comment because it's an XML file. You put a comment, this comment here would comment this out, right? And you probably need to do that on here and also do it on the context, either the host manager file and the web app file, both of them. If you do one, it doesn't work, go ahead and do the second one and it should work. So that's what we're going to do right now, okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get back here on a Tomcat server. Let me clear this, enlarge just a little bit so you can see, right? So I can do that one by one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me cd into, then we'll change it to VI. Let me see it into, we're already in opt directory. So let me cd into Tomcat 9. So if I do an ls, you have, these are all the files that you have. The bin file, we'll talk a little bit about this, all these directories that I have here. The bin directory, the conf directory, lib directory, logs directory, right? Web apps directory. We have temp directory and work directory. We have all these directories. So from this, we are looking for the web app directory. Okay, so I want to cd into web apps. Okay, and what do we have in web apps? We have docs, example, host manager, manager root, right? Now we're looking for manager, so cd into manager. Okay, from manager, we're looking for meta inf, right? So what do we have here? We're looking for this meta inf. So I can cd into meta inf. Okay. And in meta IF, what do I have? The context.xml. So this is the file I'm looking for. The context.iml. So I can do vi into context.xml. This is the file I'm looking for. And if I come here, do an I to be able to edit this. I'm looking for this valves class name. Okay, so I can separate it. Let me just separate this out. Get to the end of this. Right. So this is the file I'm looking for. Right. So to comment this out, this is an example, Olivia. We should have an example of how to do it. Write a comment. This is a comment, right? Here and here are these comments. So this would not, when you create a comment, when you're running the application, it's not going to run because it's just a comment, something that you can read, right? So in this case, this is preventing our application to run. So I want to comment out on this. So to comment, you do a less than sign, or less. Okay, this is a less than sign, exclamation sign, and 2 dashes, right? So we come back here. So we do the less than sign, an exclamation sign, and 2 dash, right? And we have to close the comment. So you come down here. Let's open this so you can see. It's dash dash, then greater than sign. Okay. Right. If you don't want to waste your time, you can just copy and paste. Right. Dash dash, then greater than sign. So we've commented out on this. So I can do escape and save it. Okay, that is done. So I can go back, do cd, can cd back, right? OPT directory. So I just wanted to do tree. Oh, we did not install tree. Sudo yarn install tree. So it's installing tree package. So if I do tree now, you can see the directory, right? You see, this is the Catalina directory. I told you about Catalina. So it has its own directory here, right? This is the manager directory that comes out from Catalina. So this is, let's see, how did we get to web app? So this is a lot of, yeah. So you can do a tree with a tree. With a tree, you should be able to see all the directories that are in your OPT. So we can do one or two things. Let's play this, right? So cd into Tomcat 9. If you run a tree here, right, it gives you a little bit less information. Okay. It's still large. So it has a lot of files or directories that you have under the hood on Tomcat. Okay, but that's what we needed to do, right? Let's get back to what we needed to do. We have commented that out, and let's go back now and see if we are able to access our Tomcat. So let's refresh this. Does it refresh? Okay, let's see if we can get back in there. We still can't get back in there. Okay, I want to get back into this other one. There are 2 places you can do this. The host manager, right? So this is the one that we just completed now. Now let's do the host manager as well. Right. So in this case, I can just copy this and paste. Oh, that didn't come out well. So let me close this. not capital. Okay, let's get out of that. Let's do it one by one. So I'm already in Tomcat, right? So ls into Tomcat. What am I looking for? Web app in my Tomcat 9, so I can sit into my web apps. I'm looking for my host manager, so I can sit into my host manager, right? Then I'm looking for my meta inf file, so I can sit into my meta inf. Now I'm looking for my context.xml file. So I vi into context.xml. Okay. And I come back, do I to insert, come down all the way. Now you see the value.class file again. So let's give a space right there. Okay, then let's comment out on this. Less than sign, right? Then exclamation sign, then dash dash, okay? Then come down here, it's dash dash, then greater than sign, right? So that would take care of that. Escape. Okay. All right, so let's get back and see if we'll be able to access our Tomcat server now. So let's refresh this. All right, now we're able to access it. It's asking for a username and password. Okay. All right, so we did not, we have not done a username and password, which is another setting that we have to make. But what's the default username and password for Tomcat? And how do we find out where our username and password are? So let me show you where to find that information. Right. In this case, we're running Tomcat 9. Okay. Let me comment this out so we can go one by one. Yeah. So this is where you have the information. In other words, the tomcat-users.xml file. So I'm already, let me get out of this. I'm now in Tomcat 9, so I'm right here. So I need to get to, so if I do ls, I should have a configuration file right here. So I can sit into my conf file, right? And I need to get into my Tomcat user. So I can sit into my Tomcat, or if I do ls here, you should see Tomcat user here, right? So you can sit into tomcat.user.xml, right? Oh, no, it's a file, so you can open up that file. Now, this is your endpoint, so you can do a VI into this. This is the file that you're looking for, okay? Inside this file, if you scroll down now, right, you see built-in Tomcat manager rules. You have all these rules, and you have username and password here, right? Where you have the username and password. Now you can change this username and password. What I intend to do is bring your cursor down here, do insert down here, and you can copy one of these rows. So copy this. What I can do, I can copy one of this. Okay, let me start with this one. So you can put as many rows as possible in here. First is the username. So you have to put your username in here. In my own case, I can say my username is, we can leave it as admin, or you can do, let's leave it at admin so that it will be easy to remember. And I can put the password here. I can say it's admin 123. All right. So I have a role. I have just one role, which is manager GUI. GUI is graphic user interface. This would allow me to gain access into my graphic user interface, right? I can create another role, which is this role, that allows me to manage not only the GUI, but makes me an admin as well, right? So I can add a role here. I can simply do, I can do a comma here, put a comma here, and put admin -GUI, right? That's one person having the same role. I have two roles now, right? A manager managing the GUI, and also the admin managing the entire thing. I can also add another role. Let me see. Manager script role. So with manager script role, I can do automation. So I can add manager script. So this is you doing configuration now. This is configuration changes. Go into your configuration file and make changes. Right. So I've done that. So let's go back to our browser. In our browser, let me refresh this. The username we said was admin, and the password was admin 123. Let's see if that works. All right, that works. So we're able to get into our Tomcat server by step. Okay, now we have Tomcat running, right? So the next thing is, let's get back to our PowerPoint slide. Okay, so our Tomcat is running, right? So these are the steps, what we needed to do to be able to access a Tomcat, right? So we needed to also do this to be able to gain access, because we needed the username and password, right? We created our username to be admin and password to be admin123. And this is the file that we got into to be able to do the configuration, okay? So a little bit into the directory, I showed you the directory in Tomcat. You have the bin directory, the conf directory, you have the lib directory. And this is exactly what these directories are for. This directory contains executable files and script used for starting, stopping, and managing the Tomcat server. That's what it does. It includes script like catalina.sh, right, for server startup and server shutdown, right? So you can use catalina.sh, which is one of the components that we discussed as being one of the components of Tomcat. So you can use that to start and stop Tomcat. So you have the conf directory. Let me show you where these directories are. So, oh, we're already on the conf directory now. So ls. So these are the directories. This is the bin directory, configuration of library, lib directory, logs, and so on and so forth. So that's where these directories are. The conf directory holds a configurations file for Tomcat. So all the configuration that we're doing, changing all that, we did it through the conf directory, right? Being able to set the username and password, being able to put a comment so we can access the Tomcat, that's a configuration file. So these files define various settings related to server behavior, connectors, security, logging. Notable files include server.xml, which is where we went and did the changes for server configuration, web.xml for web application settings, and catalina.policy for security. So if you want to set your security policies, you do it at catalina.policy, right? If you want to, we already went to server.xml and you see how we did the configuration. So any changes that you want to make in when it comes to configuration, you go to the conms directory, right? The lib directory contains Java libraries. These are all the Java libraries. So when we're doing the installation, you see all those downloads that we had. All those downloads gets into the lib directory. So, and Java files required by Tomcat and its components. It includes Tomcat-owned libraries and other external libraries used for additional functionalities. So all these files that are downloaded and stored in the library is actually what is under the hood. We're making Tomcat run, function properly, the way it should function. So all the files are in there in the library. Then the logs. As the name suggests, this directory contains log files generated by Tomcat during runtime. So if you want to see what your errors were if you had an error, you can go to the logs file and read the logs and see what the problem is. So matter of fact, if you want to troubleshoot anything, the first thing you want to look for is the log files. So if they ask you, how do you troubleshoot any application, anything that's running, right? The first thing you say is you go into the log file and see what the error messages or the warnings are. So as the name suggests, this directory contains the log file generated by Tomcat. Log files capture information about server activities, errors, warnings, and other events. It can be useful for troubleshooting and monitoring the server. So another directory that we have is the temp directory. This file is generated by Tomcat is stored in the temporary directory. This includes temporary data, cache, resources, and temporary copies of uploaded files. These are anything temporary, it goes in here. Then we have the web apps. The web apps directory is the default location for deploying web application. So when we're doing the deployment, you'll see we're going to deploy it into the web app directory, right? So we'll do the deployment, we'll deploy into the web app directory. Then we have the work directory. The work directory is used for Tomcat to store compiled Java class files and other temporary files, right? Then we have conf/Catalina. This directory contains configuration files, specific individual web application deployed in Tomcat. So once you deploy it, it stays in conf/Catalina directory. Each application deployed in the web apps directory has a corresponding directory inside the conf/Catalina that contains its own configuration. So after deployment, you want to see your the file that you use for the deployment, you can go to conf/Catalina to do that. You also have logs/Catalina, similar to the main log file or the log directory. The directory holds log files specific to web application deployed in Tomcat. Okay, so those are some of the files or the directories, the structures that you have in Tomcat, and it does various things, and you need to know them for your configuration. This is for your personal knowledge. I don't think any of this will come into your interviews, right? But it's good that you know if you have issues, if you want to find something, you know exactly where to find it. Instead of searching and you know exactly, get to this slide and read about the bin directory, conf directory. Where is my information? Where am I going to get the information that I need? I want to do configuration. I need to go to the conf directory, right? Where is my execution files or executable files located? I'll need to go to my bin file. I need logs, all right? How do I find? So these are contained in the log directory and so on and so forth, okay? And this is how to configure your server.xml. You want to do a configuration, right? You can get into, for this, and it's just an example of configuring your server.xml. You can get in there, change a port, some things that you need to change. So it comes with Tomcat, right? Tomcat comes with port 8080. Everybody knows that the default Tomcat port is 8080. So if I'm a malicious guy and an attacker, and I want to attack your server, I know you're running Tomcat and using Tomcat for deployment. What would I do? I know your port number. So I would simply attack the port number. Once I gain entry into your Tomcat server through your port, right, now I can attack your server. Okay, one of the security features is to change your port, your default port, so you don't give attackers easy access into your server. So one of the things you want to do is port configuration, where you can go in and you can do that in your server.xml and change the port to any other port number, like 9,000 or so that at least even if the attacker is going to attack, it's not going to be so easy for him to attack, and he has to go in and figure out what the port number is before he can attack the server. So that's one of the configuration you can do. You can also do context configuration as well. You use for individual web application deployed. You can define attributes like path, doc-based, reloadable to specify the context path. So these are SSL, TSL configuration. You can do this as well. This is for secured connectivity, right? And you can need your SSL certificate, right? You may get into this in your organization, depending on the SSL and TLS configuration that you need. But this is where you do the configuration, right? All right, so settings that server.xml is where all the configuration, most of the configuration that you need is. You can read up on all this. This is not going to come in your interview. It's just additional information that I needed to provide so that you can have them in your fingertips. So now let's get into the deployment of the application. All right, now we've created a server. Our server is running, but we need to deploy the application. We have the application built in Maven. What time is it? We've blown past break time. So let's take a break. Let's get back at 8:20. 10 minutes. Let's take 10 minutes break. When we come back from break, we'll do the deployment. Okay. Okay. I am the interviewer, you are the interviewee, and I need you guys to tell me how to deploy an application, or I have an artifact that I've created using Maven. How do I deploy that to my Tomcat server? How do I deploy my application that built an artifact in Maven? How do I deploy that to my Tomcat server? From here, from Maven to Tomcat server. That's manual deployment, because we're doing manual deployment now. We do a copy. But this is an isolated server. It stands alone, and this stands alone. So what do you do? How are you going to be able to copy from here to here? How? Yes, I agree. You have to copy it. You're correct, 100% right. But before you copy, how do you establish the connectivity between Maven and Tomcat? Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. Right now that I got your attention, so let's continue. Okay, so the two ways that you can do a deployment. The first one is the manual deployment, which is what we're going to do. Manual deployment involves manually copying the web application. That's from a web application archive file into the web apps directory of Tomcat. And if we go back to the directories, right? And I'll show you the directory. So web apps, the web apps directory is the default location for deploying web applications. Each application is placed in a separate subdirectory within this directory. When Tomcat starts, it scans this directory for web application and deploys it automatically, right? You see the use of the the knowledge of the file structure. Now you know where the web applications reside. It's in the web app directory. Okay, let's go back here. So first, create a WAV file of your web application, which you're going to use Maven, typically using a build tool like Maven, or by compressing the application directory manually. Locate the web apps directory in your Tomcat installation. Copy the WAV file into the web directory. Tomcat will automatically extract and deploy the application, right? Once the deployment is complete, you can access the application using appropriate context path. So this is the manual process, and this is what we're going to do. Okay. Then you have this other method, right? Web application in Tomcat. You can use Tomcat Manager. The Tomcat Manager is on the Tomcat GUI. You have what we call Tomcat Manager. You can use that as well to do the deployment. So Tomcat Manager is a web-based interface provided by Tomcat that allows you to deploy, undeploy, and manage the web application. To use Tomcat Manager, make sure it's enabled in the Tomcat users.xml. So you have to enable that file location, and is in the conf directory. Add the user with the appropriate rules, which we've added already. Access the Tomcat Manager by navigating to that website, right? There's your local host. We already have that already running. Log into using your credentials. We've done that already. On the Tomcat Manager interface, you can deploy a web application by providing the WAV file or the application directory specifying the context path and clicking deploy, right? Yeah, so you can use these two ways, manual deployment, and you can use Tomcat Manager to do deployment. Well, we get that. I think I have it here, the project building, the Maven, using Maven to build the application. And this is what we're going to do, right? But before we do that, let me go back here and explain something to you. Okay, so what happens is this instance and this instance, right? They're in the same network. Being in the same network, we can use the IP address, Tomcat IP address, can use Tomcat IP address, put the Tomcat IP address here, right? To make it recognized Tomcat. So I can use the private IP address, Tomcat's private IP address in Maven, and make the connection between Maven and Tomcat. So you can use IP addresses to be able to make the connectivity because they are in the same network, right? So when I'm going to do my copy, right, I'm going to use a function called secured copy, SCP, right? That secured copy, I'm going to give Maven Tomcat's IP address, say, okay, copy this to Tomcat instance, okay? And I'll provide the credentials being my key pair. So I'm using private IP address, and I'm also using my key pair for the connection, right? Forgot how to pull this. Yep. And I'm using secure copy, which is SCP. At least this gives you the context, and it gives you a picture in your mind what we're doing here. We're doing a secure copy, right? And we're using the IP address and the key pair to be able to make the copy from here to here. It's a very important step, right? This is the deployment. You built your artifact. Now you have to publish or deploy your artifact, and you need to know how to do it. do this. Let me save this. So, okay, so that's what we're going to do exactly. So back here, so what I'm going to do, so this is the target. So when you create or when you build the artifact, a WAR file, this is the target. It creates a file in your target directory. And this time means anything WAR, I'm deploying anything that ends with .war. So anything, then I'm copying everything here and I'm copying it to my EC2 user. So this is my IP address, Tomcat IP address. And this is the directory that I'm looking for in my Tomcat, the web apps directory, right? And this is the path. Remember this when we did the installation, /opt/tomcat9. This is the path. This is the directory I'm copying. So I'm copying everything on this target to, this is my instance, my Tomcat instance. And I'm targeting this directory, okay? So in your Tomcat, you have your private IP and your public IP. What I'm using here is my private IP because my Tomcat server and my Maven server are on the same network. Okay. Okay, so let's take a step at that and see how that goes. Let's see if we are able to accomplish that. So this is my Tomcat server. Let me clear this. I need my Maven server. This is my Maven server. Right, this is my Maven server. And I need to have a target here. I need to run. So let me delete this target, remove RF. Let's do it again. Right. So I'm going to build an application and call that Maven Web Apps application. Let me show you where that resides. This is my repository. And I go to my repository. I'm looking for Maven Web Apps. Not this one, I'm looking for Maven Web Apps application. I'll send a copy. Let me put this copy on Telegram so you can have it handy. Okay. You can have it handy so you can forward that application. Right, so this is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to clone this. So git clone. All right, so if I do ls now, I have Maven, my web apps in here. So I can seed into my Maven web apps. And I have it here, right? So it has my pom.xml and all that. I don't need these two files, these Docker files. So I can force remove them. We're not doing Docker or Jenkins. And I don't need my testing.py file. All right, so these are the two files that I need. I need my source file. I'm removing those ones. If you don't remove them, they're still going to run. I just don't want them to occupy my memory or my storage space. So I'm deleting them because I don't need them. These are the two files that I need, pump.xml and my source code, right? These two files is what I'm going to use to build my application, right? So with that, I can run nvn clean to make sure everything that was in there is clean up, right? Then I can run nvn validate to make sure all my codes and the structures are okay. That's a success, right? Do I need to run a test? I can run a package from here and build the package at once. I can do nvn package. I hope it doesn't fail. Keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, it's a build success. So we have a build success. Now we should have a target directory. So if I seed into target now, right? You'll find out, let me clear this and do it again so you can see it. If I do ls now you see that we have an artifact here that's being built, Marvin web app.war. Okay, so this is on a target directory, right? So we're going to move this. What we're doing, we're going to copy this, secure copy this from this target directory to our Tomcat instance, right? So that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, before we do the copy, so let me see it back here. Before we do the copy, we need a key pair, right? We need a key pair that will give us authorization to get into Tomcat server, right? So the key pair that we use for Tomcat was, so a key pair that we used was class key, right? So I can open up this class key. You can search it on your download folder. You see it is under your download folder. Any key that you use when you were creating the instance on your AWS, that's what I'm talking about. And this is what it looks like, right? If you do edit here, you can select all, and I want to copy all this, do edit again, you copy this, right? So I'm copying that. I'll do a VI here. The name was class key.pem, right? And we'll insert that and we'll store all that information in here. I copy it twice. Let me exit out of it. Column Q exclamation would not save it, and we'll close it, right? I open it again. I want to paste it once. Okay, now it pastes once. Okay. All right, now I can close, I can save it. Okay, so I have my class key in there right now. So what I also need, right, before I do that, let me go back to the command. So this is the command that I would use to do the copy, secure copy. One for Marvin and one for Tomcat. So now I want to SSH into my Tomcat. So I'm using a Mac operating system. So in Mac, I'm not using mobile XTEM. So in Mac, you can go to your terminal, and this is my terminal, right? So in this terminal, you see I'm going to SSH into it, right? Programmatically, it doesn't give me a UI, so I can go enter those form fields that we did in mobile XTEM. This one, we're actually going to hard code and SSH into my instances. So I will do SSH -I. So -I because I want to enter the key pair that I use. I think the key pair that I use is Tomcat mark.pem. That's the key pair that I created when I created my instance, right? Then the instance, my Tomcat instance is Red Hat. So I will do EC2. Then the IP address, EC2-user, my IP address. So this is the IP address. Now it's added some things in here. This at the beginning is, let me confirm the IP address again. It's 34.215.112.254. Okay. So I'm SSHing into, this is the actual SSHing, right? We're not using mobile XTEM here. Okay. I type in yes now. No, it did not SSH. Permission denied. Shit. And come back. Nana, can you hold? Okay, let's do that again. SSH -i, then my key pair is Tomcat mark.10, then EC2 user at the, I think I have it correctly now. Permission denied. Hold on, let's check what the IP address is. Tomcat map, yeah, this is the IP address, correct? And this is the IP address. Why doesn't it let me SSH in? SSH-I. Wait a minute. Hold on, let me check if another thing I need to check is if it's a Red Hat. So it's a Red Hat server. So it's right. And this is the, okay, let's try that again. EC2 -user. No. This is the key pair. The key pair is Tomcat mark.10 and EC2 -user at, then paste. Okay. Let's see, what was the error message? Tomcat.pem not accessible, no such file or directory. Oh, okay, I know what it is. So this, you need to state the absolute path of, so it doesn't know the path where this is stored. So I need to state the absolute path. So I'll do this. There's a $ sign / is in the downloads folder. Remember when you download, when you create your SSH key, it's always in your downloads folder. So with this, I'm creating what is called the absolute path now. I was trying to use the relative path without mentioning the absolute path. So you couldn't find it. Now we should be able to find it. And we are connected now to EC2 user.com Tomcat. This is really small. Can you guys read this? It's not, I'm not able to maximize this. Right, so now we are in.
Feels like French, Greek.
Say that again.
Oh, that's English. I thought it's Greek.
Oh, this is English. EC2 user at Tomcat. So now we are able to, I'm able to SSH into the instance now. Okay. All right. So now if I do ls cd-/opt, that's where I install all my files. So if I do ls now, you see Tomcat 9 that I installed, right? So I have Tomcat 9 installed on this instance. Okay, so the thing, let's take a look at Tomcat. I think we looked at it last time. Let's take a look at some of the files or the directories that we have in Tomcat 9, right? So first of all, remember you have to be able to, if you have Tomcat, right, you have to be able to have the credentials to get into it. And if we bring this up on the UI, let me bring it up. Let me see if I can bring it up on UI. I haven't started Tomcat. Let me start it now. So if I do start Tomcat, I think I need to access into it. Okay, Tomcat has started. So now my Tomcat is running. It started. So I can copy the IP address. Can copy the IP address and come to the browser. Let me see. I can use this browser. Okay. In this browser, I can paste this in here. I'm sorry, Control V doesn't work in Mac. So I can paste this, and my Tomcat runs on port 9000. Okay, no, port 8080 is Tomcat. Okay, so now we should have a Tomcat. So Tomcat is running, right? So the Tomcat is running. If I go to Manager app, If I click, it's going to give me an error, right? So you have to do some configuration. So if I click here, okay, I think I configured this already. If you're doing it for the first time, it's going to give you an error. It won't let you get your username and password. And how do you get past that? Let me go on. It will give you an error will be like this, like 401 error, right? So how do you get past this? So that's what I wanted to show you. So if we go back to the terminal, right? You are now on the OPT directory. If you ls into this L, so you have Tomcat. So we cd into your Tomcat 9, right? If you ls again, so you have all these files. Let me expand this so you guys can see, right? Okay, you see all these files. So you have the bin file. Remember the bin file when we did Linux commands? It said the bin file, all the executable files are in the bin directory. Now you have the conf directory. Conf directory is used for configurations, right? So we're now in Tomcat 9, and you have the web apps, all the, because with this Tomcat, all the, if you want to publish an application, it's always in the web apps directory, right? So we get into the web apps directory. If you cd into web apps, ls into web apps, you have the host manager, which is where your application is being hosted, and you also have this manager, right? You have to get into this manager and comment out some of the value files that is in there. So let's do this real quick. So I can cd into host manager. When I get into a host manager, ls again, the ls again, you have this meta-inf file, right? So I can cd into meta-inf, right? Then if I ls, I should have a context.xml file. So if I ls now, I should have this file. This is the file I'm looking for. This file is where I'm going to make those changes. So I can vi now. So sudo vi into context.xml, right? So this will give me this file. So when I come down here, you see where you see value, class name, and you have all Apache. Now you comment on it, and to comment, so I already commented on this. So comment, right? To comment on this, you do the less than sign, exclamation sign, dash to dash dash, right? And to close that comment, right, you do dash dash, then the greater than sign. That would comment this out, right? Then you can save and close. Now there are two places you have to do this, in the host manager and on the manager. So I can cd back twice, going back, right? That will take me back to my web apps directory. Now, if I ls now here again, I'll get back to my manager. See, I've just finished doing the configuration on the manager, host manager. Now I have to do the same thing on the manager directory. So I can cd into manager, right? If I ls, I'll have the same meta-inf, right? So now I can cd into my meta-inf. Okay. So once I do that, let me clear this. I can, if I ls again, you have the context.xml file. So you can sudo and vi into context.xml file. Okay. And you come back here, you do the same thing. You see the same line of text, which is value class name, this. You do the same thing to it. You just comment and save and close, right? Now, once you do that, cd out of this. There you're now on your web app, cd out of this completely. Now you ls now, you come back to your configuration. So this is where I want to be now. Now I want to get into my configuration file. The reason I want to go to my configuration file is because I want to create the username and the password that I'm going to use. Now, once you did you finished the two configuration we just did. So if you click on your manager app, it should bring you to this user interface that you have to enter your username and password. Now you don't know what your username and password is, so you have to do that configuration. To do that configuration, you have to go to your configuration directory under your Tomcat 9. So I can cd now into my conf directory. In my conf directory, if I do ls, I should see Tomcat-user XML. This is the one I'm looking for, Tomcat-users XML, right? So I can sudo vi into Tomcat-user users.xml, right? Once I go in there, right, you will see, if you scroll down, this is what you see. You see this line that says username, username, admin, password, right? So wherever you see this, this is where you can, one way you can do it, you can uncomment on this. Uncomment means delete this comment out, or if you just want to keep this as the original, just in case you made a mistake, so you don't miss it, just copy this line and paste it down here, right? Give a space, let me insert, you can just copy this line like this, copy and paste, come down and paste it, right? So this is not commented. So the comment is within, so when you copy it out here, it's not commented. So when you comment this, it's not, the system is not going to recognize it. But when you uncomment it, now the system will recognize it. Now you can change your username and password. In this case, I use admin. This is admin, so I can type in the password here, which is admin123. I already did this, right? You can give it a different name, username. Now in this case, this username is Robert, and you can give it this a password as well. For example, you can use the same password if you want. It doesn't have to be the same password. It can be something, but I'm just using that so I can remember. Okay? You can give it the same password, or you can give it a different password. And you can use this username or this username, use the same password, right? And you'll be able to get it. So in this case, I'm giving two people, two personas, these two persona, different username and different password. So this username we can do, you don't think it must be the same. You can do 4, 5, and it doesn't need to be name. It can just be admin. It doesn't need to be name and number, character and numbers. It can be just characters, right? You don't need to put the number. So whatever you think you can use as a password, that's fine. And any username is fine as well. Okay. So once you do that, you can save and close, right? So we go back to the Tomcat interface. Now you can enter. The first one that I entered was admin, and the password was admin123. Okay, then I can sign in. Now, when you sign in, now we are now in Tomcat. So this gives you like docs, examples, host manager, manager. See those two, host manager and manager, these two directories that we configured, they're all here. Then this is the application that I deployed early on, which is our web app application, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this again. So what I can do here, so what this Tomcat interface, what it does is you can use this to control the deployment. Once you deploy it, is like a control manager. You can stop the application from running. You can undeploy the application. You can start the application, like this one is undeployed right now, and I clicked it by mistake. It's undeployed. You can stop, reload it, undeploy it, your application. You can come here, stop the application instead of going to the CLI to stop it. You can control everything from here, right? So this is like the controller. Once you publish an application, it will come down here. Okay, so that's Tomcat and installation of Tomcat and having the Tomcat interface. Okay, now the question is, how do you publish an application, right? Let me see. I think we did that in last class, but let me explain it again. Okay, let me see if I can add Let me slide it. I don't need only a voice. Don't need any others. Okay. So now, this is a text box. You have a text box here. You have a text box here. So this is a text box. This is, let me call this my Tomcat. And this is my Maven server. Okay, so I have two servers right now. One is Tomcat, one is Maven. Now, I use Maven to build the application, right? I used Maven to build the application. Now, after the application is built, after my artifact is built, how do you deploy the artifact, which is the application, in Tomcat? Right, so that's the question. How do you do that? So for you to be able to do this, you have to be able, this is a different server. These are two instances that we created, right? Remember we created, if we go back to our instances, we have Maven and we have Tomcat. Now, after the deploy, after the build, because you build your application using Maven, the application becomes, after the build, it becomes an artifact, right? Now we've not installed Nexus yet, so we don't have any storage. We just want to deploy it from Maven to Tomcat, right? And you can also store the artifact in Nexus. Now we've not done Nexus yet. So now it's straight to Tomcat. How do you deploy your application to Tomcat? So that's the question we want to answer now. So you can do that by copying the contents that you have in Maven to Tomcat using SCP, which is Secured Copy Command, which is in Linux. Right, you can copy, but it has to be secure copy. Secure copy meaning that you're securing it is encrypted when you copy it, right, to Tomcat. Okay, and what do you need to be able to copy it? What do you need for Maven's instance or server to talk to Tomcat server, right? So you can talk to each other. Remember when we are trying to use our computer to communicate to the instance in the cloud, we SSH into it. Now, what do you need to SSH? You need an IP address, you need a key pair, right? You need a key pair, you need an IP address. Now, when you're doing your mobile XM, you type in the IP address, you type in the username, which is, if it's Red Hat, is EC2. If it's Ubuntu, it's Ubuntu. We need that. And we also need a key pair. We need those three things to be able to, right? So in other words, your command line will look like this: scp-i, then this should be small I, then the key pair. Whenever you do -i, it means that you're trying to prompt it to look at your key pair. For example, our key pair was tomcat mark.pen, right? So you need that. Now, what file are you trying to transfer, right? So the file that we're trying to transfer from Maven, we created a file in Maven. So the file is in Maven. So we are now in Maven. We want to transfer from this to the target right here. And the file that we created, when you do Maven, Maven creates a file called the target directory, and all your artifacts is stored in that target directory. So I want to say in my target directory, right, dot anything that ends with a WAR file slash dot anything that ends with a WAR file. So I will put a star here, a star which is a wildcard to take care of anything that is in this Maven that ends with a WAR, because it's a web application that we are trying to deploy, right? Do that, then copy this file to my Tomcat server. My Tomcat server is ec2-user, add the IP address of the Tomcat server. So I'm going to put the IP address here. Then where do I want to copy this file to? In Tomcat. So in Tomcat, remember in Tomcat we have an OPT directory, right? an OPT directory, and when we did the installation, we created an OPT directory. We installed Tomcat in OPT directory, and we created another directory we called Tomcat 9. Tomcat 9, right? And in Tomcat 9, because this target file is in the web apps file, so we are going to web apps directory. We're going to create automatically a directory here called web apps, right? So this file is going to be transferred into the web apps directory somewhere here, right? So understand it. This is an SCP command, it's supposed to be a small s. SCP
Hi,
command,
baby.
which stands for secure copy.
Oh.
Then -I, exactly how I SSH into my instance. I use the -I, then I use my IP. Now, this is the file that I want to copy. I'm saying target, which is the directory that this file is, and anything that is in the target directory should be copied, right? And should be copied where? To my Tomcat server. So this my Tomcat server that has an EC2 is a Red Hat server. So it's EC2-user at my IP address. And where do I want to copy it to? This is the directory, the OPT directory, Tomcat in the OPT directory, and we'll create another directory, which is web apps, and would install all the files that I need to copy from Maven. Okay, but I haven't showed you, so we've not created Maven, we've not SSH to Maven, so I haven't built any artifact yet. All right, so let's go back to Maven. Let's go back to my instance in Maven. Let me make sure I have this. So I have this is my, okay, so this is my Maven server. Okay, so let me SSH into my Maven server. Let me figure out how to do this. So in mobile XTM, you can just create a new one, but in terminal, you have to do something.
You can right click on the top.
Right at the top, okay.
Yeah.
Right click here, right?
Yeah. And they should allow you to add
and which one do I select? This one? So if I right click on the top, okay, if I do a view, it should, I think view would give me, there's a way, I forgot how I did it.
well, hold on.
Screen, show all tabs. Okay, show all tabs, right? Then it will give you the ability to create a new tab. So you can click here and create a new tab. Right, so I have a new tab now. So let's go back to once the maximum, okay. I want to minimize this. Okay, how do I minimize the screen?
You have to maximize you have to maximize it first. Well, maximize exit. Yeah. Exit the full screen.
Exit the full screen. Okay. Exit the full screen. Okay. So, all right. So I want to get back into my copy. Yeah, I want to copy this. And this is an Ubuntu server. My Maven is an Ubuntu server. It's not a Red Hat server. So I want to SSH into it. So I would do SSH-I, then the keypad. I use the same keypad, Tomcat mac.pem, right? Then Ubuntu at the IP address. Okay. I'll say yes. Now, no, I'm not. Permission denied. Okay. The same thing that so I'm using relative path. I'm supposed to use an absolute path. So my absolute path is the curly stuff /downloads, right? slash. So this is the absolute path, right? You hit enter, and I am now Ubuntu. So clear this. You can see I'm now Ubuntu at Maven, right? So if I ls in here, if I cd into my, which directory did I store Maven? Okay, now I have Maven.
Click to directory.
ls into Maven, so I don't have anything in Maven. Cd into my opt directory, ls. So I don't have anything in the opt directory. Get back, cd back. Okay, play this. So I'm going to go ahead to my GitHub. I'm going to clone. I'm going to get to the code. I'm going to get the code from my Git and clone it into Maven. And from Maven, I can do a build. Okay, so let me get into my Git directory. Let's get back here. Where is my Git? I thought I opened it up here. No, I don't have. Okay, this is my Git, right? So this is my Git directory. So the one I need is Maven Web Apps, right? I don't know if you guys have this. I would send it to my. Okay, let me use this other computer and send it so you guys can have it. Have it here on my personal computer.
Congratulations, I'm happy for you. Thank you, ma.
To the repository. Maven Web App.
He's very honest and very humble. He takes care of me.
I will put the link on Telegram, so you can go to Telegram and grab it on class 003. Okay, so I have the link there, so you can copy it there if you want to follow along. Okay, so I copy the link here, then I can go back to my terminal, right? Here, I can do git clone, then paste it here. Hello, web app already exists. But when I did ls, okay, it's already, so I already did this. So what you do is just do git clone, and it should give you Maven web app, right? So you can cd into Maven web apps is web apps, right? So be careful. I think okay, I only send you web apps, so you should only have that one because I have web app as well. So this is the one that I'm going to use, apps with an S, right? So cd into Maven web apps, right? If you ls into this, so you see a target directory. I did a build, so I have a target directory. So in this build, if I cd into target directory, right, you'll see the WAR file that was created, right? Was created. So I'm going to delete this target directory and rerun the my rerun Maven to be able to get the artifact. So this is the artifact with a .war. So let me go back. So ls. So I want to delete this target directory, right? So let me do this. Sudo remove. I'll first remove the target directory, right? So the target directory is gone, right? So all I have now, the pump XML and the source directory, right? If you want to know what's the source, this is the code that developers will code and using the pump XML as well. So this is the source code and the pump XML. You need these two files to be able to do a build. Okay. So I installed Maven, right? So now I can run the build. I have my source code and the pump.xml. So first of all, I can do Maven clean, mvn clean, right? To clean every other program that was in there. If there was anything, it's going to clean it up. Then I can do mvn validate, right? To validate the code, to make sure the code is okay. It gives me accesses So once I do that, I can run MVN package. I can do a test, but we didn't create any test. Let me see what it would do. MVN test. You can do MVN test as well. Right, it fails. Sudo MVN test. We didn't create any test cases. Let me see if it's because we did not. Okay, it's a success. So it tested it. It's okay. I need to elevate my privilege. Now that I've done the test, I've done the validation, it looks okay. So I can do MVN package, right? So package is going to build me the artifact. Okay, it's because I had when it run it the first time, is going to download all the dependencies, right, into your server, because I had run it previously, so all the dependency have been downloaded. So I have a very short build time of 2.838 seconds, right? So when you run it the first time, it's going to download, go to the central repository and download all the dependencies. So it might take a little bit longer before, because I already downloaded it. That's why I have a quicker build, right? So now if you do ls on here, so now you see I have the target file is back here. So if I cd into my target file, right, you see that I have a WA Maven web app.wa. So this is the artifact that's being created. It's generated this, and on top of that, you have all these other classes and everything else that's been created that are dependents on this. So, but this is the artifact that I needed to create, right? So now that I have the artifact, it's created, right? So now I need to copy this. This is the WAR file that I need. I need to secure copy this file to my Tomcat server, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, before you do that, in your server, right, you need to have the key pair, because remember you're doing secure copy -I, and the key pair, because you want to have connection to Tomcat. So you have to install the key pair of Tomcat in your Maven server. So because you're doing scp-I, then the key pair, which is Tomcat mark.pen, right? So I need to be able to read this, right? I need to be able to read this inside my server, right? So I can either do, this is a Maven server, but I'm going to put in a Tomcat key pair in my Maven server. For me to do that, I need to do this, right? I need to go find it. VI into, what did I call it? Tomcat mark.pen. Right. So I need to need to go find out where that file is, right? So for me to find out where it is, if you go to your download folder directly, right, you should be able to copy it, right? But since I don't have it, this is not Windows. If you're using Windows, you should go to your node and you should be able to find out. It took me a little while to figure out how to get it on the Mac. So this is what I did. Don't correct me if I got this wrong. Let me do this. Let me get out of here. So this is what I did. I created a new. Maximize this. Go back here. Okay, that's what I need. View. What did I do last time? Show all tab. Yeah, I need to create a new tab. Right, create a new tab. So VI downloads slash Tomcat mark.py. Okay, so I have it here, so I can copy it from here directly. But you can go to your download folder in your Windows and just copy it directly. So since I have it here, I can just copy it here, and I can come back. I can come back to my Maven, right? And I can paste it here in my Maven. Escape. I should have added into it. Hold on. I should have sudoed into it. So let's try that again. Sudo, so you'll be able to serve. You have to elevate your privilege to be able to do that, to serve it. Okay, escape. Then you can serve. Now I have it now in my server, so I can reference it now. So now I can do the copy, right? So I can do the copy with the SCP command, SCP. And by the way, for you to do the SCP command, view all, actually exit full screen, right? I have it here in the PowerPoint. So this is the command. This is the command. So I highlight this using, so that you don't think it's a continuous. This is scp-i. Then this is your key pair that ends with a .pem. I highlighted it here. Then I have, this is the server, right? Wait a minute, copy a file. No. This is when you're copying a file from a remote. So if you're in Tomcat, you want to copy it, stay in Tomcat and copy the file from Maven. That's you're on the remote directory and you want to copy it from Maven. But if you're in Maven, you want to copy it to Tomcat, then this is the one that we're using. SCP dash, then your key pair, right? Key pair, right? Then the file that you want to copy, then the Tomcat server, then this is the path that you want to copy it to, right? So I highlight it so you don't think it's one straight line of code, because all you have between this and this are spaces, right? So if you look at the whole of this, you'll be so confused. You won't know where this ends and where this starts, right? So I color coded it here so you can know the separation, right? So if we get back to our terminal, which is this. So what I'm doing is SCP, right? -i. I want to copy that, and my key pair is Tomcat mark.pem, right? Then what do I want to copy? I want to copy everything that is in the target directory, right? And I want to use a wildcard to find anything that ends with a .war file, right? I want to copy all that. And where do I want to copy it to? I want to copy it to my Tomcat server or Tomcat instance. And my Tomcat instance is a Red Hat instance. So you say ec2-user add. So what is the IP address of that Tomcat server? So let me just put the IP address here. I'll go back and grab it. Now, what is the directory that I want to copy this file into? So I put a colon here, right? The directory I want to put it into is the OPT directory. So I'll say /OPT/ and it's going into Tomcat 9 directory. And I want to create a new directory that's going to host, and that directory is the web apps directory. No, the web apps directory is already there. So I want it in the web apps directory. So OPT/Tomcat/web apps directory is where I need this to be published, right? Once I do that, I should be able to, let me see if using this relative path, it will let me copy that into it. So let's see, let's take a look. Could not resolve host name. So IP address, I didn't enter the IP address, I'm sorry. Let's go back and get the IP address real quick. Not here, here. So this is my instance. My IP address, the Tomcat IP address is what I'm looking for. So I'll copy the Tomcat IP address here. Let's go back to my terminal, just here. So let's enter the IP address. Check this. There's the IP address here. Okay, I think that's correct, right? IP address. All right. So let's see. Now I'm using the relative path. Let's see, using the relative path, it would let me do the copy. Otherwise, we need to. Okay. So are you sure you want to continue? The authenticity of the host can be established. This host key is known by the following address. Okay. All right. Let me see what let me go through. So if I say yes, right, it did not copy. Right. So let's go back and let me use the absolute path in this case. So the list of known hosts, target one, no such file or directory. No such file or directory. Okay, so let's look at what the problem is. Target slash. So the problem is not my key pair. The problem is this file right here. So I'm on the target. Okay, sorry. Let me get out of here. I'm already on the target directory. So I'm trying to copy again from the target directory. So cd out here, cd out of here. So I'm already on the target directory. So how am I going to copy a target directory when I'm already? So there's no directory called target in the target directory. So how are you going to copy something from a target directory when you're already on the target directory, right? So if I do ls here, this is where you see my target directory is under here. So you can't stay on the target directory and try to copy on the target directory. So you have to come out of that directory. Now you can do the scp command again, -i into tomcat map.pem, then target slash *, okay, then ec2 can just copy all this. That's what I did. And this is a WAR file. Okay, and that's a WAR file. Give me a second, let me confirm this. I'll make sure I have all the information right. Okay, you can go back to just confirm this. So this is an example. Right. I think I have one here. Tomcat. Okay, target WAR. So it's right. Okay. So let's go back to this. So this should be good. Okay. We enter here. Permission. We have a permission denied each problem. So it's not giving us permission. It has recognized the file now, but so let me use the absolute path in this case. If you're using Windows, Windows will pick it up directly, right? You don't need to specify the absolute path in Windows. Let's try this again. Not such directory. opt/tomcat/web. Home Ubuntu. Download Tomcat, not accessible. No such file or directory. ls. So we don't have it. Okay, so our vi it doesn't see a key. So it doesn't see this Tomcat map.pem. Oh well, it's here. Okay, it's right here, so I don't need to specify the. Let's see what happens here. Tomcat 9. So this is good. Permission denied. I'm wondering why it's saying permission denied. Tomcat.pem. Are you sure? Okay, I think it's picking up now. Yes. Okay, now yes, he has apparently added to the list. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. To the list of known hosts. Okay, I think it has copied. All right. Let me make sure it has copied. The authenticity can't be established. It didn't establish the authenticity. This host key is known by the following other names, addresses. Okay, this is the SSH hash name. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? I said yes. Permanently added. This is permanently added to the list of known hosts. Okay, Marvin Web App Wow. Okay, let's see. Let's see. It's giving me some conflicting, probably because I already published. It's giving me some conflicting results here. Let's get back to Marvin and see if that actually published. This is the manager. Okay, let me refresh this and see if that's published. I think we have it here, but I don't think it's published. Okay, if you click on the link, it has not published. So if it has published, you should be able to see. Let me bring this back again. Let's refresh this. This is not the right one. So I think this is the new one that we created. Yeah, so let's refresh this. It's giving us an error. Let's get back into it. Refresh it again. Okay, it's published. This is the webs right here. Web app application. And we can actually, since it's here, it's published. So what we did here went through. So you give us Marvin Web App WA.WA. So you can see the application here is published. So if we click on this application, it should give us a website, right? We should be able to see the actual website. This is the website that was created, right? Welcome to Windows Tech DevOps Practitioner course is designed, right? So now we've published the application, which is the form of website, right? So now the application is published. That's the step that you use in publishing your application. If we go back here to Tomcat, right? You see this application is published. You can stop this application, right? If we stop this application now, right? If you get back to the website, you won't be able to get into the application. It will give you an error. You can start the application again, right? The application is started. If you click the link again here, you get back into the application. So you can use this to stop the application. If you want to do any maintenance work on the application, you can stop it here and you can start it after the application. You can reload it and start it again. You can undeploy this application. If you want to get it completely out, you can undeploy it and you won't be able to access it again, right? So this is like a control plane. This is what you use to control your application, right? And like it says, it has a servlet. So the servlet is what actually helps you publish these applications. Say this was your application, right, written. And let's get a little back before we get into the source code.